It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. I remember this day, 1981. I was in 8th grade sitting in Mr. Petrus's history class when he announced that Ronald Reagan had been shot. We found out later that day that it was some crazy guy who wanted to get the attention of an actress. But it was a day that has stuck in my memory. It's a day that I remember, 42 years ago. I remember where I was, what I was doing. Well, today, 42 years later, probably in 42 years, I'm going to remember where I was in this moment when I heard that Donald Trump had been indicted, or in his words, indicated. Which yeah, you gotta go there. That's right. What we know, it's being reported that he's going to be indicted. His lawyers have already said, "Yep, it's going to happen." It's just a matter of rolling out the details. There'll probably be more, but he's been indicated. He's indicated that he's been indicted. Let's go that way. Reports are he was shocked, stunned by it, according to those around him, which is why he didn't really give a response other than going to the Truth Social so that he could go and truth himself. And understand the reason they chose that name, Truth Social, is so that they could lie and have people say that it's the truth. But he raged in his truth. These thugs and radical left monsters have just indicated the 45th president of the United States of America. He meant indicted. And the leading Republican candidate by far for the 2024 nomination for president. This is an attack on our country, the likes of which has never been seen before. It is likewise a continuing attack on our once free and fair elections. Had to get the wine in there. The U.S. is now a third world nation and a nation in serious decline. So sad. And what's sad is, this guy has always been this kind of, and again, most of that was in capital letters, so he was really shouting. And I did the best I could do to get that shout out there because I wanted the sense of the anger and the shock. Now, he predicted it was going to be a couple of Tuesdays ago. I guess he got the T right because it's on a Thursday. And, good. This is going to be interesting to see. Now, there are a bunch of people, lock him up. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to jail. I don't see any jail time in this. But, hey, some of the other stuff, I don't know. But for this, a fine, slap on the wrist, don't pay off any more porn stars with hush money kind of thing. What's interesting is they are going back and looking at other hush money that he's paid to Playboy bunnies that he had a much longer relationship and a much longer cheating affair with. So that could be coming along, but we'll see. Now, here's the thing: the bottom line in this, and I know my right wing friends losing their minds. Oh my God! You know what I find hysterical? I gotta tell you, I was surfing the Twitters today and looking for specific folks like Don Jr. and specific people who have snowflake or safe with no safe space, or I drink the tears of libs, any of those kind of MAGA frames. I was looking for their bios and to see the wine coming out of them today. And the crying and this isn't fair. Here's the reality, and this is where I come down on this. The president is like anybody else. If you've committed a crime, you should be held accountable. For me, this is the bottom line. While I think this might be stupid, okay, yeah, you paid off a porn star. We shouldn't be talking. I don't care about his sex life. I don't want to hear about the mushroom. I want to know none of this. But somebody did go to jail for this, Michael Cohen. And the person who was responsible, maybe should as well. In this country, if you commit a crime, you should be held accountable. Indictments are done by we the people. A group of our peers go and look at the evidence and choose an indictment. That's what they did. That's why this has taken so incredibly long. And these everyday folks, people like you and me, went into a room, and reportedly they have decided that a crime was committed, and they have chose to indict him. And again, he will have his day in court. And listening to some of these this is worse than third world countries. This is worse than Russia. This is worse than no. He's going to have his day in court. He's going to be able to defend himself. And trust me, he will have the best legal representation that will be willing to not be paid. Here's the thing. What we understand at this moment, they haven't officially rolled out the indictment, so we don't know the exact charges. But what we're being told at this moment is because, look, he cooked the books. He cooked the accounting books to cover up the fact that he paid hush money to a porn star because it was going to make him look bad in the election. Now, personally, I got to tell you, I don't know that that's completely accurate looking backwards, because I don't think it would have mattered. I think the folks who were, the dyed in the wool, bought the hat, don't care. But he did break the law. If they can prove he did this, and look, Michael Cohen went to jail, said he did it, this is what should happen. From what I understand, fairly strong, substantial evidence, strong case. This is where it should go. If it were you or me or anyone else, we'd be going to jail. What I find interesting are all of the Republican lawmakers who are rallying around him, refusing to say that he should be held accountable. Basically, no, this is a witch hunt. That kind of ridiculousness. And I said yesterday, I think Trump was masterful in coming out and saying, on Tuesday, they're going to come and indict me, and setting the time frame for himself, raising the expectations, pushing the district attorney to making the move faster. So yesterday when they said they're going, the jury's going away for a month, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is them going, we got more work, more I's to dot and more T's to cross. Turns out they just wanted to get everybody out of Dodge before the insanity ensued. So for me, going to be interesting to see where this goes, because again, we're in this spot where, are we a country of laws that everyone is accountable to? For me, that's the bottom line in this. And again, the amazing thing about our system is you will have your day in court. Now, he's, like I said, he is going to have the best legal defense team that money, well, if he decides to pay them, can buy. What I find interesting is how they responded. Now, this is kind of setting the tone for the 2024 election, because even if he's indicted everywhere, even if it comes in Georgia, if DC does it over January 6th, go around the globe. If all these places are indicting him, he's still running, and he's still the front runner by far. I found his releasing a made for social media video to be very interesting, in that he didn't go to reporters. This was all prepackaged. This was, again, whining and complaining and grievance stuff. But I think this next election cycle is going to be him doing a lot of this stuff, because I do believe he's getting older. He's diminishing in his ability to do what he's done in the past. If you watch him, a lot of times he's struggling to get through sentences, and it's going to get worse as the attacks come. Because I got to wonder, in the media culture, how many people are just going to, just throw softballs at him, and how much more attack is going to come. This is not going to go away for him. it's only going to get worse. The floodgates will now open once the first official indictment happens. And as I said, I think, tomorrow we should maybe see something. And then, Georgia could come down the road. The folks in D.C., the Department of Justice, could be coming out with the classified document stuff, or with, the January 6th stuff they're investigating. Lots of problems. Now, again, as I said the other day, it's hard to win one of these cases, let alone 2, 3, or 4, or 5, and then decide you're going to run for president. That's the interesting part for me. But I'm a little surprised. I'll be honest. A little shocked. But this had to happen. Curious your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Should he be indicted? Does this rise to the level of a crime in your thought process? Or is he just like anybody else? You break the law, you're held accountable. I want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. We'll take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around.
I'm JD Schulten with Courier News, and I'm here to tell you you're probably getting screwed. What is one of the most costly crimes in America? So much so that from 2017 to 2020, $3 billion was recovered by it, but it happens much, much, much more. That's right, it's wage theft. Wage theft occurs anytime an employer does not pay the employee everything the employee is owed by law. Nationally, employees are underpaid by as much as $50 billion each year due to wage theft. No group is immune from this, but low-wage workers are particularly vulnerable. Wage theft can take as much as 10% of a low-wage worker's annual earnings. One reason wage theft is so common is because many employees aren't aware what constitutes wage theft. Here are some signs you might be a victim of wage theft. Your paycheck is repeatedly incorrect even after you've asked about it. You don't get to take a meal break, or you have to work tasks even though you're clocked out. You're an hourly worker who completes overtime hours but doesn't get overtime pay. Your boss tells you to work off the clock. In 2021, food service and construction workers were the most affected by wage theft, followed by workers in retail, agriculture, both farm workers and meat packers, and healthcare, especially nurses. Wage theft often goes unreported because employees fear repercussions from their employers for filing complaints. However, it's actually illegal for the employers to retaliate against their employees for exercising their rights as workers. As one expert says, we don't do labor training in our schools. So what should you do if you think wage theft is happening to you? First, talk to your employer. Maybe it's an honest mistake. But if things continue to happen, file a complaint with the Department of Labor. You can call them at 1-866-4-US-WAGE. That's 1-866-487-9243. Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And all calls are confidential.
So I got to tell you, I'm wondering, will Trump surrender? Can you imagine, him surrendering? I mean, that's not a word that he wants to have next to his name. And I got to wonder what kind of spin they're going to put on it, or if he's going to try and fight it from Florida. Say, no, we will not go, and force Ron DeSantis to either, stand by his word that he's not going to extradite him, or actually, wouldn't that be hysterical? The governor of Florida who wants to run for president, extraditing the guy who's beating the tar out of him in the polls, sending him off to surrender, to be indicted or to be charged. That would be, well, it'd be hysterical. Sad, bad situation all around for our country. To have someone like this who has been president, who may be again, but it's where we are. And the thing is, what the heck? We've got a president who's criming. The American people believe criming is around every corner. In fact, Gallup just came out with a poll and said that it's a record high number of people who believe that local crime is worse. They write Americans are more likely now than at any time over the past 5 decades to say that there is more crime in their local area than there was a year ago. The 56% of adults who report an increase in crime where they live marks a 5 percentage point uptick since last year, and it's the highest since 1972. And you go, wait a second. That's not reality. Oh, but I know it's not reality. It's just what we hear every day on the F channel and the right-wing outrage machine. That around every corner there's MS-13 coming to get you, and robbing thieves of marauders, emptying stores out, and yeah, this stuff happens. Not at the incredible amounts that we're led to believe or told to believe. But this is what happens when you have a crazy media structure that just wants attention. That idea, if it bleeds, it leads. Maybe we should be rethinking this. And look, I've been watching the coverage of the most recent shooting, and there'll be another one and another and another and another, because as our Republican friends have said, they're not going to fix it. There's nothing going to happen. And they've admitted it. And there's a part of me that goes, I respect that. I respect honesty. I respect when you come out and say, you know what? Yeah, it's terrible. A couple of kids got killed. Those 3 9-year-olds are never going to see 10. Yeah, I get that. That's the price of freedom. And we're not going to do anything about it. Now, interestingly enough, thanks to Elon Musk and Twitter and the way they've screwed up the algorithms and just put all of the craziest of crazy people on my timeline, that all I am inundated with was right-wing drivel, I came across a tweet by this guy, John Rich, evidently big-name country singer, evidently big right-winger. He tweeted out, and this is interesting. This is an interesting thing for me. He tweeted out, I wish politicians had the same level of security as school children. And my mind went into this place of saying, what he's saying here is that nothing's going to change until the slaughtered children of these events are being buried by wealthy, influential people, by our politicians, by the elites. What he's saying is your kids, my kids, our kids don't matter. They're not worth protecting. They're not worth enough to protect. And that we have to wait. We have to wait until someone of matter has to bury their children. And it's just, again, one of these things where I've been saying, understand, every one of these shootings, every time we see one of these shootings, what happens? It's a cycle. There's a little bit of outrage. There's some thoughts and prayers. There's politicians who, we wish we could do something. There are Democrats who propose all kind of legislation. They say, hey, we need to do this. We need to do things. And the gun manufacturers make nothing but money. The campaign donations flow, and Republicans go to state legislatures and expand the right of people to carry guns because more guns are going to make us safer. That's the theory. And you look at the fact that since 2020, 9 more states have expanded, carry access without permits. No permit, whatever you want. There are now 25 states in this country where you can carry a gun anywhere you want. No permit necessary. And somehow this is going to make us safer. And in fact, there was an argument in Congress today between Jamal Bowman, a Democrat, and Thomas Massie, a gun fetish Republican. He's one of the guys with the big guns on the Christmas card with the kids, because all the kids got to have guns too. And they're going back and forth on kids are dying in schools, and and Massie said something pretty amazing. He goes, in a school where a teacher has a gun, there have been no children killed. And my mind immediately went to Parkland, where there was a trained trained law enforcement officer on the site, and he did nothing because he's got a little pea shooter in his pocket. He's outgunned, seriously outgunned. But Massey's not wrong, because we haven't given all the teachers guns. So, in the small percentage of places where that's happened, the odds are well in his favor. But in the places where these shootings have happened and guns have been present, people still died. And more than that had to. This is, again, another one of those moments where I'm arguing that we're not going to go and take everybody's gun. That's never going to happen. And nobody's really proposing that. Maybe one or two extremists on social media that you go, see, look, there's some idiot over here saying something that's never going to happen. But there are ways to give people at least a fighting chance. Background checks work. Limiting the magazine capacity helps. But here again, you've got, more Republican states, Kentucky, Ohio, Nebraska, Texas, Virginia. All of these states have gone and either limited gun-free zones, removed background checks, or rolled back red flag laws. Missouri last year, enacted a measure that made it illegal for local law enforcement to cooperate with federal authorities when doing any gun investigations. So when the ATF comes in, local policemen have to obstruct. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy the place that we're in. And what's going to happen is eventually, and maybe John Rich is right. Maybe in his way of pointing the finger at people in Congress, maybe he's right. Maybe it's going to take a notable to have a tragedy. And I'm not advocating for that. It would be horrible. I want no one to have to bury a child. But maybe he's onto something. Maybe he's not wrong. Maybe our elected officials and the power elite in this country don't care about, wait a second, not maybe, they don't care about working people. They don't care about our kids. There are things we should be and could be doing, but we're not because of one special interest or another. And this is where my frustration lies. Now, I see Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He has launched a new political action organization that's going to go, he's going to have Democrats go into red states and, oh my gosh, it's like he's been reading my mind for the last 18 years. It's like he paid attention to our Working Class Heroes radio tour last year up into the election. That you've got to go into places where working people are. You got to go into rural communities and talk to people so that they're not afraid of you, so that they see you, they get to know who you are, and know you're not the boogeyman that the NRA and the Republican Party keeps painting, saying rational people who want to do decent things. Have those conversations, have those tough arguments, have a beer and yell at each other, and then walk away from each other. This is where we're struggling as a country. I'm old enough to remember those bar arguments, and those are some of the best times I can remember because they're heated, spirited discussions where people are honest. And when you can walk away and go, okay, well, I agree with this, I don't agree with whatever, that's great. Problem is we're in a moment right now where everyone packing heat, well, you don't agree with me, somebody's got to go. That's unhealthy for a society. And look, for the people on the outside, the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, the North Koreans, whoever else, all the people who on these social media sites who are spewing the most outrageous stuff, they're just stoking the fire, trying to get us even more riled up, even more pitted against each other. So the fact that we're going to have a guy who I think is going to run for president, getting out there and going into places and talking to people that don't agree with him and defending his position and sharing ideas. Because here's the thing, and I've been saying this for years. Progressive policies are extraordinarily popular across the spectrum. Democrat, Republican, Independent, blue, green, red, purple, doesn't matter. Progressive policies are popular. Progressives are not. But the policies are spot on, ensuring that people have access to health care, ensuring that education is funded and every kid has a chance, ensuring that people have good jobs with good wages. These are popular ideas and popular policies. You got to get people out there pushing for it. Oh, I don't know, maybe leaving a planet worth inheriting for our children and grandchildren. These are policies that are wildly popular, as long as we take the names off of them. The Affordable Care Act, much, much more popular than that dreaded Obamacare, even though they're the exact same thing. Want to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. After years of politicians talking about it, they finally passed a big new infrastructure package to rebuild roads and bridges, fix drinking water systems, and make the energy grid more secure. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
We are AFGE. We support our nation's military and our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders and provide services to our nation's seniors across the country and here in Washington, D.C. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At The Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right-left or red-blue, when they are and always have been up-down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people, for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.